Namaskar. Today we are going to study about the hyperspectral remote sensing or advances in the hyperspectral remote sensing for the geological application. And basically we will be talking more in detail about the mineral properties, mineral spectra, and how these advanced techniques in hyperspectral remote sensing will be useful for the identifications of the minerals, lithological classification and their mapping. So, the advantages of remote sensing, if we are talking about the classical geological mapping for the mineral exploration, it was very tedious, very time consuming, and because of this, especially when we are or we are covering a very complicated or geologically heterogeneous area, the traditional techniques were very time consuming. But when this new concept of remote sensing came into the picture, we found that with the limited number of human observations, this technology plays very important role in mineral exploration. And when we are talking about mineral exploration or the mineral identification, there are different types of guides are helpful, such as geomorphological guides, botanical guides, and regional guides or lithological guide or the structural guides and all. So, first, we are just an example of a structural guide. So, structural guides are basically the different types of structures such as fold faults and all. This can be seen using the RS data. As all the person who are from the geology, they might have understood that if at all we are standing on a fault line, if we are not measuring the dips and all these things, or if we are not able to exactly visualize what the fault is, where the fault is and how it is going, or where if at all we are standing on the fault, even though we won't be able to see it without measuring the dip strike of the limbs and all that, it is on anticline or syncline or all. So when the advantage of remote sensing is because we are capturing the data from the top, so we are getting a synoptic or the bird eye view of each and everything whose surface expressions are present, because remote sensing is giving the information about only the top surface. So if we are able to see that, we can see the general geomorphology of the area, we can understand the structures, mega structures present in the area, and with the help of that we can associate or we can understand about the ore deposits associated with those structures. We can locate the extension of the faulted bodies, we can see the faults, domal structures, and using that we can identify the oil, groundwaters and all those resources. Now some deposit like stratiform deposits or strata bound deposits are basically confined in a particular type of rock or particular type of lithology only. So those can be obtained using this and those lithologies can be seen using the remote sensing data. When we can generate different types of color composite, we can generate different ratios, and with the help of that we can identify the alteration zone and the lithology present in the area. Now these are the general ratios what we study for the geological use. For example, iron oxide, clay minerals, and all these are basically dependent upon the spectral properties of the mineral or the material which we are trying to extract. So for this, what we have to do, we have to thoroughly understand the spectral properties of the material, and to understand the spectral property, either we have to go through the spectroradiometers in the field, we have to use them, or we should generate the spectra, or we should have the imagery in such a way that can give us the spectra of each and every pixel of that image. So such kind of imagery is called as the hyperspectral imagery. So now this ASTRA data analysis, this is just a case example using this multispectral data set. So what we have done, these are the different bend ratios we have collected, 4/6, 5/6 and 7/6, and different things were highlighted. If you can see over here at this point, if you can follow my cursor around this point, this is the area which is highlighted in some cyan color. Over here, this is the mixture of this green and this blue color over here, and this is the exposed mine of rock phosphate in this area. So this mine we were able to generate the spectrum of the material, and then we have generated the FCC. Now, as I was talking about the synoptic view, you can see that this is the nose of a fold. You can see that this folding structure is present over here. Now, a linear structure, you can see this is a lineament present over here. So, like this, because of the presence of the synoptic view, we can have the major structures can be seen. And now, when we have generated the ratio, we will get different colors in the image. Now, the colors has its own significance. And it gives us the information. So, this area when we have done this ratios, and after that we have done some PCA analysis, principal component analysis, and using that principal component analysis we have generated this PC432 FCC, and then we have observed that this Zamarkotra mine, it was also very clearly visible using this PCA. And this part, there is one open cast mine. This open cast mine was very much available, very much easily understandable. Here this part, this is the Zawar mines, underground Zawar mines, but its surface signature, some mine tailings and all are also present, and that feature also very nicely depicted using this principal component analysis. So, the ratio will give us some zones, alteration zones, and this PCA will also highlight some zones, and when we combine these two things, the alteration zones and this outputs of PCA, and wherever we are getting the anomalies in both the data set, those can be used, those can be seen and identified using the remote sensing data sets, and the same areas further will be investigated for the post classification imagery, and then verified in the field will be resulted in the post classified rectified image. Now, so we now got to know that remote sensing is very much helpful for mapping the lithology, faults, fracture that localize ore deposits. We can also identify the hydrothermally altered zones, and they have got their spectral spatial signatures, and we can directly map the mineralogy or mineral abundance by using the techniques that is called the hyperspectral imaging or imaging spectrometry. Now, what it is? So, it is the science of acquiring digital imagery of the earth material in many narrow contiguous spectral bands. That's because we are able to generate the radiometer spectra, but through the image. That's why this technique is called as imaging spectrometry. So, it differs from the conventional remote sensing techniques. It covers many narrow defined spectral channels, whereas the conventional remote sensing looks at the several broadly defined and spectral regions. Now, let us see some hyperspectral case studies. How do we do that? So, for the hyperspectral processing, this hyperspectral data has huge size. So, the processing of the hyperspectral data is little lengthy. Because each data set has size in GBs. So, what do you have to do? You first of all you have to do the corrections of the radiometry, then you have to do the atmospheric corrections. Now, as you might be knowing that when we are capturing any data in the multispectral image, what we are trying to do, that we are trying to capture the data into the atmospheric windows. It means where the effect of atmosphere is very less or minimum. So, what do we want to do? We want to calculate the data with that. Now, but when we are talking about the hyperspectral remote sensing, because we are not capturing only in the atmospheric window, the whole spectrum range is getting covered. So, the atmospheric correction is also a very important aspect of this processing. So, first of all we have to correct the radiometry, then we have to go for the atmospheric correction. Then as the number of bands are very high, large number of bands are there, so we have to reduce the dimensionality, to reduce the redundancy present in the data, so that our computation can be fast. So, for the first, in this picture you just see that this is the image. In this you can see a black column drop where the values are 0. So, we have just rectified that column by doing some special averaging technique, and then that column drop appearance was there, the pixel which has got value 0, they have got the value now. So, like this we are doing the correcting the radiometric errors. Then the atmospheric corrections, there are techniques available like flash is there, and there are different radiative transform model based tools are available in the softwares. Those can be used for the atmospheric correction. You can use flash, you can use ATCOR and all these features. So for that, what you have to do, we are just comparing over here. Before, the spectra of vegetation will look like this, the radiance spectra, but after atmospheric correction, the typical reflectance spectra of vegetation is looking like this. Now, as I said that after that it comes the data reduction. So the data reduction technique, there are different types of data reduction techniques like principal component analysis, minimum noise fraction, independent component analysis, wavelet transformation, Fourier transformations and all. So what we do, we basically for the data reduction, generally most widely used technique for hyperspectral data is MNF, that is minimum noise fraction. So what do we do in that? We just apply the algorithm and then finally we see the result will appear like this. So higher the eigenvalues, the more the variance present in the data, more the information present in the data, and the data is less, the correlation between the data is very less. So for getting the maximum variance in the data, we need least correlated data sets, and the noise should also be minimum. Now if we see the band number 1, the maximum information it is having, 2 less than that, then 3, 4, 5, 10, and then you see here band number 15 it is almost noisy, and band number 20 it is completely noise. And it is also clear from this graph that eigenvalues are high, and after this say 18 or so, the values are getting very low and they are almost constant. So the values close to 1 or near unity values are basically the basically show the noise present in the data. So it is only the bands which has got high eigenvalues, maximum variance, those bands will be selected. Next comes your pixel purity index. After that, the pixel purity index algorithm is applied, which gives you the location of the pure pixels present in the image. So in this image, if you see the pixels which are appearing bright or white over here, they are classified as the pure pixels by the PPI algorithms, and the pixels which are appearing black, they have not classified as the pure pixels by the PPI algorithm. So now using that MNF, we have reduced the number of bands. Using the PPI, we have reduced the number of pixels to be seen carefully. So now we have to take care of, now we have to see only those pixels which are appearing bright in the image. So after that, we do such kind of classification, such kind of end members are selected, and for each end member the spectra is generated. As when we are talking about the hyperspectral imagery, the hyperspectral imagery is basically about the spectral properties of the material. That's why what do we have to do? We have to concentrate more, or we have to study or understand more critically the spectra of each and every pixel what we of the image what we are getting. So and when we are talking about the spectroscopy, we are more concerned about the absorption dip of the spectra, and here the absorption dip of a particular material is peculiar for depending upon their chemical composition and their crystal lattice structure and all. So now you see over here this green color spectrum, it shows the spectrum of a iron mineral, and this dip, it says that the iron is present. Now there are different types of classification algorithms are available. For example, spectral angle mapper, then MTMF or SFF or SVM, like that. All these image classification algorithms can be used for the classification of the whole image using the characteristics or the spectra or the training sets we have provided in the form of spectra to the algorithm. So using this we have done the classification. This is one of our published work in 2020, it has got published, that these are the spectra what we have collected. So blue color spectras from the image, black are from the USGS, and red color spectras are from the field library. So we compared them, and then finally we found that these are the 6 classes we were able to classify into these 5 classes using the hyperspectral image of the area. This is the study of close to the Udaipur, Rajasthan. Now another study over here, you can see that in this different parts of the image has been shown carefully, and it says that this, can you see this purple color, and this purple color is the basically shows the presence of mineral pyrrhotite, and the mineral pyrrhotite is associated nearby with the sulfide mineralization. So over here this is lead and zinc mineralization is there, and this pyrrhotite is present in the peripheral area of lead zinc mine. So it is associated with the sphalerite, galena, pyrite, chalcopyrite and all, and different sulfide minerals as at the secondary product. So with the help of this image, this secondary product of this image is of pyrrhotite, we are able to get it, and the pyrrhotite is we are able to pick the pyrrhotite using this hyperspectral imagery. And when we have seen that there is a Rampura Agucha mine in between, and on the peripheral area of that mine this pyrrhotite is present. Other than that, there is a hill, Goshenized hill over here, that is called Purbanera area. In that Purbanera area we have seen a lot of iron present in the image using the imaging spectroscopy data. Now this is another example, a published paper by somebody who has they have done the case studies for the delineation of the grades of bauxite using the Hyperion data, and this is also hyperspectral data but satellite borne. So what have they done? They have just try to discriminate between the bauxite, aluminous laterite and laterite using their spectral characteristics, and they found that laterite which is containing Fe, it was more clearly discriminated from the Al containing laterite, and the classification accuracy in all the 3 classes were increased significantly when they have used the field spectral data for the classification. Whereas with the help of Hyperion also they were able to distinguish between the laterite, duricrust types of and different lesser economic value components. And this for this technique they have tried the linear mixture model, and it was observed that the mineral abundances estimated from the spectroscopy were very well matching with the XRD or the geochemical analysis done by the people as the support of the field observation. Now this is another study. What have they done? They have just tried to map the alterations using the 3 different hyperspectral systems. This is AIS, then your IIRS, and then the GERS spectral line profiler. So what have they seen? That this spectra what we were able to see, it was in GERS spectra and AIS system and IIRS data of the particular area that is called Northern Grapevine Mountains, Nevada. So they have done that Nevada area, and they have seen that such variation in the profiles are able to see. Now you see that this is AIS system and this is your IIRS. So you can see the difference between these two, and definitely we can see some some absorption features present over here. Some absorption features it was able to highlight, but the signal to noise ratio or the spectrum or whatever we can say, the noise is very less in the IIRS data, and the signal to noise ratio has been significantly increased in the IIRS data. Now this is another study using this airborne IIRS data in this Argentina, and what have they done? They have tried to map this area using the IIRS data, and what they have this is they have mapped was epithermal gold system mapped and explored using the combination of field mapping as well as the multispectral and hyperspectral sensing. So they have mapped the whole complex, whereas but they have done the field as well as remote sensing, both the techniques. Now overall the regional targeting they have done using the multispectral data set, and then they have finalized the study area and or the zeroed in areas using the Landsat will be further investigated in detail using the IIRS data, and the result they have obtained from the IIRS or the significant areas, those areas will be field survey was done in detail thoroughly and were identified. Now it shows a very good correspondence, and as the previous slide it says that when we have done this also, it is showing very good correlation between the field measurement what we have observed in the image in the field as well as the image spectra and the geochemical or chemical analysis what they have done in the lab. Now we can just have a look of the spectrum present over here. So they have done two different techniques for conversion to convert them into the reflectance. This is Econ. So using the Econ, these were the basic spectra observed, and this was using the different techniques, and finally we were able to see both the reflectance measurement and the differences between these 3-4 classes very nicely thoroughly. It is well crystalline kaolinite, poorly crystalline kaolinite, dictite and pyrophyllite. Now other than that, in 2016 or so we have got a combined mission with NASA, that is ISRO NASA IIRS project. In that project the IIRS instrument was here at in Indian subcontinent, and it was flying over the selected areas which were typical or very much useful for the certain aspects. For example, for geology, for water resources studies, for urban studies, for agriculture studies and so on. So I was the PI and I was doing the research in the Rajasthan area. So I was the PI of the sites they have displayed over here. The polygon displays over here. It is close to the Udaipur area, then the Jahajpur, Purbanina area and all. So all these areas were I have given the polygons of this area, and they have mapped the area, they have imaged this area and sent the image to us, and then after that we have done different image processing techniques were applied and were be seen very thoroughly nicely. So during the field when the sensor was collecting the images from the 1-2 kilometer height from the sky, we were there in the field and we were collecting the samples and the spectra simultaneously of the same rock types in the field. TMFN, this is the standard FCC, we have compared them. So we have compared them on the following criteria, like it is for identified minerals and the algorithms what we have said, we have identified those algorithms, and using those algorithms we have total 13 number of end members we have grouped, we have identified total 13 number of end members, and we grouped them into the clays, iron, carbonate groups and the other mineral facies. And what we have found that the MTMF algorithm, it was providing us very promising, very verifiable and very close to accurate classification results. That was also seen in the imagery. Now you see over here, this is your FCC. In this FCC, if the something is appearing in that particular class, at least it should belong to that class. But what is happening that it is all, either not able to classify the mineral, or we have found that it is over classifying the classes. So but we found that the MTMF, the mixed tune match filtering algorithm, it is the accuracy of this MTMF is almost more than 80-85%, and it is giving us the close to reality results. Now there is another technique or another example over here, and that is called the mineral mapping. So mineral mapping is basically mapping of the minerals using the spectral properties of the minerals, and over here you can see the different spectras of goethite and jarosite. These two are the iron ores, or indicates the withering is there in the area. So what have we seen, that these are the three spectras over here. Red is for USGS, black is for image, and blue is from the field. We went to the field using the spectroradiometers and we have collected the data set. Now in this area, this is open cast mine of rock phosphate. This is called Mattoon mine, close to the southwest of the southeast of the Udaipur. So in this mine, we have been in the field, as I have shown you in the previous slide. We were there in the field and we have collected the spectrum of this few of the exposures in situ with the in situ spectra was collected simultaneously with the image acquisition time. Now what we have seen, that we have collected the spectra from here only, but those spectra were true representation of the rock phosphate, and when we have applied the classification to the whole image, we have found that there are few more patches appearing in the same bright color. Now then we again went to the field and we cross checked it, and when we found that, and we inquired from the local persons also, these are the areas which were highlighted in that light green patch other than the mine were also queried, or the queries those were queried for the rock phosphate mine, for the rock phosphate extraction, but as the percentage of the rock phosphate is comparatively less and it was not very much economical, so they have abandoned that. Now these are the different spectras like talc, dolomite and calcite. So if you know the composition of the calcite is CaCO3 and dolomite it is CaMgCO3. So the absorption dip of Mg is pushes that dip of 2.3, that is characteristics of carbonate, pushes the carbonate dip towards the little lower wavelength. And why is it so? Because it has got the presence of Mg in that. Another example, in this the whole image has been classified. You can see over here, this is the area, this is the mine of pink marble, and this mine has been classified very nicely, thoroughly using this image processing technique. These are the another examples of the Zamarkotra mines. You can see over here there are different other locations were also identified by the image for the rock phosphate mining. Now in this image, this is the Zamarkotra area and zoomed version of the previous one, and we have seen that Zamarkotra area, as the host rock is stromatolitic dolomite, it was very nicely thoroughly classified as the dolomite using the hyperspectral IIRS image. This is for the another the pink marble area. So this spectra was also collected, and that we have seen that it is very nicely classified the image into that particular mine. So now what do we understand by this? So we understand by all these discussion or all these things that the strength or the availability of the hundreds or more number of very narrow contiguous bands is that we are able to generate the spectrum of each and every pixel. Yes, that is true that spatial resolution is also important, but the high spectral resolution of the hyperspectral data provide us or gives the additional information for the identification of the materials and that can be used for the different applications, for example forestry, agriculture and for the geology for the identification of the minerals. But the challenge is to acquire the sufficient large quantity of the data, because it is very narrow, so amount of light is very less, very narrow spectral bands. So the signal to noise ratio should be very high for the sensor, and it is little difficult till now to maintain that signal to noise ratio using the space-borne satellite data. And again, when we are talking about the geological remote sensing, so it should be it will be dependent when the data is continuously available, as well as the time span between the different data sets is also considerable and a constant, so that we can monitor gradually one by one that what is happening in the earth on the earth. Now this is another thing what we do, we generate the spectral library. We have got at our institute 2 spectroradiometers, HD Field Spec Pro, and it operates in the range of 0.35 to 2.5 micrometer or 350 to 2500 nanometers. And the another spectroradiometer is Field Spectroradiometer FTIR, and that operates in the range from 2 to 16 micrometers. So the spectra of all the samples which are collected in the field, either the spectra was collected in the field or the field samples were brought into the laboratory and the spectra were collected in the field, and for some places it was done in the field and in the lab also, and the spectra using, so we have got lab spectra, we have got field spectra, as well as we have got the spectra from the standard library, that is USGS. Now how do we collect the data sets for the spectral library generation? So we just follow, these are the points we have to note in the field. So what is which photo you have taken for that, what is the description of that landmark, what was the LULC cover, then stratigraphy was what, then lithology, then what was the the band or the cystosity present in the band if it is there, then lineament are there, or what are the associated mineral types with that. So we see that that was associated mineral was the rock phosphate, and was it the old working mine? Yes, no, it was not old, it was presently working mine. And then accordingly we give the spectrum details also, what time we have collected, what were the rock that were identified in the field was given there, and what were the ID of the spectrum generated, and what was the name of the instrument. So like this was the location in the Google image, this was the field photo, then this is the field photo of the sample. From this surface only the spectra has been collected. Then we bought these some samples to the field, and we have generated the from field to the lab, and then we have generated the spectrum in the lab. And this is the things, these are the format or the systematic observations we do in the field to generate the spectral library of any material. This was the same. This is the field photo and the surface from where this spectra is collected. This is the sample collected to the lab and the spectra of that sample. The field photo and the sample and the spectra collected from the sample in the lab. Now if you see over here, just the comparison of the USGS spectral library and the spectral generation or the spectral library what we have generated. So it go almost similar things can be observed. The diagnostic absorption features were exactly the same what we were studying, what they have given, the USGS people have given to us using the library. So again to verify this, that the spectra is telling us the truth, we do the XRD or XRF analysis also at our lab, and then finally if our XRF XRD also supports the result is what is given by the spectroradiometer, then we go ahead and then we publish it in that library. This is some field photographs. This is for the typical dolomite, and that elephant skin weathering can be seen over here. And this is the instrument. This is the data logger. She is carrying a data logger. So we are collecting the information. Another example of the open cast mine. This is the open pit mine. From through this mine only a small red hole miners were used to generate used to extract the materials from these mines. So that's it from my side.